Welcome to the Lovestead.
Happy Monday morning! Welcome back to Lady Lovestead Reads. My name is Jessica. Welcome to this week's reading vlog. I just spent like 15 minutes recording this whole thing and realized I didn't hit the record button on the camera. So we're off to a great start. Do you like my coffee mug? If you watched a vlog from a few weeks ago when Brandon and I went shopping down on Main Street, I got this on that shopping trip. It's so cute. I love it. It is my blue and white style. It also has butterflies on it. Let's talk about what I'm reading. On audiobook, I picked up The Boys in the Bunkhouse, Servitude and Salvation in the Heartland by Dan Barry. I'm just reading it off the screen. So I've been watching this booktuber. His name is Peter, and I don't remember the name of his channel. I'll leave it in the description box down below. But he reads a lot of true crime, and I just really got in the mood for reading true crime from watching his channel. So I did pick up this book, The Boys in the Bunkhouse, and this is about a set of men with disabilities who live in this schoolhouse in a small town in Iowa, and they basically are indentured servants for a poultry company. And I'm from Iowa. If you're new to my vlogs, I live in Iowa, and the town that it's set in, like, it's just outside Muscatine, Iowa, which is where my boyfriend grew up. So I am invested in this story. I am 20% into it, and it is really interesting, but also just like really sad. So the basis is like these men with physical and intellectual disabilities were hired on by this poultry company to do what we do to turkeys when we need to eat them. And they all lived in like this schoolhouse outside of Muscatine, Iowa, in abhorrent living conditions. Like, it's filthy. Like, the schoolhouse was even like set up like a jail almost, and the bathrooms were terrible. There was black mold and rats and like just really, really awful conditions. And the book starts out from the perspective of the social worker who finds them. So it's really sad, but like I said, with it being set in Iowa and like my boyfriend's connection to that area, I'm fully invested in this story. On ebook, I am reading from Kindle Unlimited, Dirty Love by Wright. This comes as no surprise if you've been watching my vlogs, because I've been working on this one for a while. I'm reading it slowly. This is a mafia romance. This is book 2 in the Lion and the Mouse series, and this features Casimir and Emily. Casimir is like the head of the Russian mafia. He's the biggest arms dealer in the world. He's like a big to-do. And in the first book, he meets Emily in New York City because she lives in New York City, and she like cooks the books for different crime organizations in the city. So she's not exactly like pure and innocent herself. And he hires her to cook the books for one of his projects in the Russian mob. And then, you know, shenanigans ensue. And now we're in book 2 where they're in Prague. And the setting is like really gothic and cool. The mafia story in this one is starting to get really interesting. And then there's this love story between Casimir and Emily. And it's just kind of a sweet story of like these two corrupt people coming together and finding love. Very much enjoying it. I am about halfway through. We'll see how far I get this week. I am also reading Treasure Island by Robert Louis Stevenson. This is a buddy read I'm doing with my friend Francois at Mr. Francie Reads, and this is like your classic pirate story, and I'm absolutely loving it. I am 88 pages in, and I just love it so much. I love pirates, and I love pirate stories and pirate movies, and this is the quintessential pirate book. So, I mean, I don't know what more else to say about it other than I'm just absolutely loving it. I like it so much that last night I ordered a copy of it for my own library, because this is from my public library. And I also ordered Robert Louis Stevenson's Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde when I ordered a copy of this one. So really liking it, really liking his writing style. And then last, I am working on The Hollow Places by T. Kingfisher. This is a buddy read I'm doing with my friend Storm at Storm Reads. This is about Kara, and Kara moves back in with her quirky uncle, Uncle Earl. I really like Uncle Earl. He has a museum of oddities and curiosities, and it's set in North Carolina. And so Kara's getting a divorce. She moves back in with her Uncle Earl and basically helps run the museum because Uncle Earl has some health issues. He's got mobility issues, bad back, bad knees kind of thing. And one day Kara discovers a hole in the wall, and when she goes through the hole, it takes her to like another realm. So this is like an adult horror version of The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe. And what I'm loving about it so far is the characters. Like, the characters are so quirky and fun. My favorite character is Simon, and he works at the coffee shop next door. Simon is like this 40-year-old guy who wears top hats and fingerless gloves and has like this really interesting backstory. And the banter between Simon and Kara is so much fun. So I am on page 75 of that one, and we'll continue reading it this week. And that about does it for my Monday morning update for you. I hope you're all doing well, and I will see you in my next update. It's in part because they're scaring away predators. Hey y'all, happy Tuesday. So yesterday I worked, and then after work I went and checked on the baby chickens, and they're doing really well. I forgot to film anything. Yeah, but they're doing good. They're starting to get their first like set of real feathers, right? And I'll have to remember to take a video of them tomorrow when I go out there. I'm not actually going to make it out there today. And I did get some reading done on The Hollow Places by T. Kingfisher, and I couldn't put this book down. I was going to try to split my reading up last night between the 3 books that I'm actually reading, but I couldn't do it. I couldn't stop reading this one. I got to page 133 in this one, and this book's drawn me into the story. Like, I am invested in it. I am in it, and it is so scary. It is like nightmare fuel. It's, you know, it's like, it's literally like a bad dream. But it's really good. I'm enjoying it. There are some writing issues, like it's not a perfect book, but I really am liking it. So I did get into this, chatted with Storm about it since we're buddy reading it together. Really liking it. Today, I'm on my lunch break. I'm about to dive into this leftover spaghetti that I've got over here. After work, I need to stop by the library and pick up a book that I have on hold for the BookTube prize. And then I'm finalizing contracts for the horse and figuring out the training schedule. I think we're planning to start training in September. When you see this video, it will probably already be September based on my upload schedule, but it is what it is. So we're finalizing all of that tonight. And then when I get home, hopefully I'll still have some time for some reading and some other puttering about the house. I need to water the garden a second time. I just watered the garden before getting on and filming while my spaghetti was heating up because like it's so hot out. How hot is it? Oh my gosh, I need to check. 101. It's 101 today, and the low tonight is 72. So pretty warm day out, which means I need to double water the garden. So I did just go water it, and then I'll have to water it again tonight before I settle in for the evening. I'll probably do that when I get home from the ranch. So I'm calling the farm where the horse is the ranch. and the farm where the chickens are the farm, because they're two separate properties, just to keep them straight. That's how I'm doing it in my head. Okay, now another thing I wanted to go through here was I put out on Instagram the option to ask me some questions, like Q&A style, for my vlogs, and I'll probably be doing this every week. So if you have questions you want to ask me that you don't want to just put in the description or put in the comment section, follow me on Instagram, because I will do that poll every week, and you can submit your questions there if you don't want your questions to be public. So I did get a couple of questions for the first Q&A, and I'm not going to actually say the viewers' names just for privacy reasons, because I figure if you're submitting these through Instagram rather than posting a public comment, that you probably prefer to be anonymous. Okay, so the first question is, what does it feel like to hold the baby chicks? Okay, baby chicks, the ones that I have are probably about a week old now, and they are the softest balls of floof. So before they get their feathers, they're just like really fluffy and have like down instead of actual feathers. And it is like the softest fleece blanket you could ever imagine. Only it's a little bit lighter than a fleece blanket, because like think about a cotton ball, kind of how that's light and airy, but it's also like soft, soft, soft like fleece. And so you feel that when you hold them, and like if you're holding them in your hand like this, you've also got their little feet on your hand, and those are prickly but not like super sharp just yet because they're still babies. So their feet feel kind of like toothpicks. Kind of like toothpicks, only a little bit more plastic than wood. I don't know if that's making any sense, but that is how I would describe what holding a chick feels like. And I say chick as in baby chicken, not as in like human woman. I think we all know this, but it's the internet. I have to clarify. Okay, and then the next question was, when do we get to meet your horse? I think I mentioned this in a couple of vlogs ago, but the way that I'm handling the horse situation is it's a contract called a feed lease contract. So I am not outright buying the horse. I am like leasing the horse. And basically what that means is I'll be co-parenting the horse with the horse's owner. And the woman who owns the horse is a friend of mine, so I think it's going to be a great working relationship. But in order to keep it a great working relationship, I am trying to be very respectful of her, her privacy, and all of that. I did ask her if I could share a photo of the horse every now and again, and she said yes, that would be fine. But I don't know that I'm going to be able to share like training videos or anything too in-depth with her just yet, right? Like we need to establish this relationship, and we need to establish our routine and our training schedule first. So I will share a photo of her when I'm able to get a photo of her, because I did, you know, my friend is comfortable with that. But as of now, I don't really know what more I'll be able to share with you, at least for a while. So those were the two questions I got for the Q&A for this week's vlog. Again, if you want to ask a couple questions in the comments down below for next week, questions you want me to answer, or if you want to leave your questions anonymously, hop onto my Instagram, which is also linked in the description box below, and you can ask me there. It's 2 o'clock in the afternoon and it's starting to get really dark, so I got up to see why, and there is a gnarly looking storm headed our way.
Hi. I just stopped by the library. I always turn my head because my car has some blind spots, and if I don't actually turn my head and look when I'm backing up, I'll end up hitting somebody. So I always look. Anyway, I'm just leaving the library. I picked up My Dark Vanessa by Elizabeth. Is it Elizabeth? Kate Elizabeth Russell. And it is a book that I'm reading for the BookTube Prize. I'm trying to speak loudly because the last time I tried to record from my car, the sound was a little weird, so I'm trying to speak louder than my car sounds. Hopefully this works a little better this time. Anyway, I now am heading to the ranch where Lady is boarded, and we're going to figure out our training schedule for her. I did want to pop in because I do have a reading update for you. So I finished the audiobook that I was listening to called The Boys in the Bunkhouse, and this is a book about this group of men who work for a turkey processing company. And basically, this company housed them in a schoolhouse in Adalissa, Iowa, and they took all their wages, and it was essentially indentured servitude and modern slavery. And this book was so sad. It was so sad hearing about what those men went through. And I think that what really gets me about it is that, they're never going to get that time back. These guys worked for this company for 45 years. 45 years. For some folks, that is their entire lifespan, And, they're out of there now, and the company was sued and they won their lawsuit. So they've got some money in their pocket now and all that, but they're never going to get those years back that they spent at that plant. And that is just so heartbreaking to me. And it just they deserve better. They deserved so much better, But it was an excellent book. What I liked about it, aside from just the story about the men, the writer does a nice job going into detail about each of the guys' backstory and their history and their families and all of that, how they ended up in the company. And another thing that I liked about the book was that it's really a good overall commentary on how Americans treat people with disabilities just in general. So, in America, and I don't know what it's like where you're from, if you're listening from out of the States, here in the States, we really do tend to sequester folks with developmental and intellectual disabilities. We sequester them away into group homes and institutionalized living, basically. And we really just don't do a good job on the whole as a society of really embracing them as part of our community. And the book does a good job explaining some of the labor laws around how the company got away with this for so long. And it's in part just because of some of the labor laws that were in place here in the U.S. And then another thing that this has me thinking about is maybe a little bit of nosiness is okay. There's this heavy emphasis, I feel in American society, to mind your own business. And I definitely agree with that to a point. But I feel people minded their business to a fault in Adalissa. And not enough people were hey, are these guys actually okay? Everybody just assumed they were okay. So I think in certain cases, a little bit of extra nosiness maybe is a good thing. And yeah, it was a really good book. I am going to give it 4 stars out of 5 because I think it was a little bit too meandering at points. Like at certain points I felt like they overdid it on the details just a little bit. Like there was a scene where the social workers are meeting at McDonald's and he like describes in detail the smell of the McDonald's hamburgers sizzling on the grill, and I just feel like, okay, that's a little bit overdone. Like we don't really need that description to understand what's going on in that particular scene and in that particular moment. So it is a 4-star out of 5 for me, but if you're interested in Iowa, this is a good book to read. I keep telling people that like there's this misconception that Iowa is just this like small town, safe, culture, nice place to live. We have that reputation of like Iowa nice, but like there's a lot of dark stuff that happens in small town Iowa, and this book is just one example of that. So I do really recommend it if that's something you're interested in learning more about. Go into it knowing that it's a heartbreaking story though, and like even though these guys got justice, like they're never really gonna have justice because they can't get those 45 years back, and that is just ultimately just really, really sad.
Baby birds do 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 do. Baby birds do do. Come here. Look at these feathers. Look at those feathers. Look at those feathers. Pretty baby. Hi, buddy. Hi, buddy. Hi. You're a good baby. Hi, bud. Maggie. Max. Maggie, we're gonna do the ears thing. There you go. There we go.
Back down. Back down.
Good morning. It is Thursday. I stopped to get a giant coffee after tending to the chickens this morning. It is just your standard vanilla latte. I also have bagel, cream cheese, and lox, which is like my favorite breakfast these days. And a garden tomato to chop up and eat as well. It's about 9 a.m. Gotta get logged into work here for pretty quick, but I have a reading update for you. Yesterday, I read cover to cover on audiobook the first book in the Goosebumps series by R.L. Stine. The first book was called Welcome to the Dead House, and I loved these books as a kid, and I have not really revisited them as an adult, and my library has the first 15 books on audiobook on Hoopla. So I'm going to try to reread as many of these as I can, and I reread the first one yesterday. It was real short. It was like a 3-hour audiobook, but I loved it. This was such a good like middle grade horror. I wouldn't change anything about it. So like in Welcome to the Dead House, this family moves into a house that they have inherited from a mysterious uncle, and like the kids think that it's haunted because there's all these weird things that are happening in it, and the adults don't believe them, which is like a classic story, right, for a kiddo. And it was really good. Like the tension built up really nicely through to the end of the story, and it was scary. Like it was legit like whew, bone chilling. So I did give it 5 stars out of 5, and I'm picking up book 2 today to listen on audiobook. They're all pretty short, so I have a feeling I'll get through the first 15 that they have on Hoopla pretty quickly here. But the second book is called Don't Go in the Basement, or Stay Out of the Basement, I think. Book 2 in the Goosebumps series. So that's been, it's going to be a fun ride, I think, to revisit these. So otherwise, I'm still reading The Hollow Places by Kingfisher. I didn't read any of it last night. I'm rotating between The Hollow Places and Treasure Island. I did read Treasure Island. Treasure Island I am loving. It's the perfect swashbuckling pirate story. I can really see how this set the foundation for other pirate stories of the future. And just very much enjoying it. And then I'm also still reading Dirty Love by Wright, and that one is getting exciting. Someone died that I wasn't expecting to die, and it's kind of heartbreaking, but it keeps the story really interesting, right? So, I mean, it is a mafia romance, so people are gonna die. So today is just a long day at work. It's getting dark in here because I think it's going to storm again. Pray for my tomatoes. And yeah, just a long day at work here, and then tomorrow is Friday already. We're like, what is even happening? I think this weekend I need to go shopping for some equestrian supplies, like I need a riding helmet and some riding gloves and things like that. So maybe I'll take you along when we do that, but that's where we're at for today.
The garden isn't too terribly damaged. The one that I'm most worried about is my early girl. This has a branch down. That's my Italian heirloom tomato, so we'll see if it bounces back. And then the one that really got the worst of it is my early girl tomato right here. She just had a lot of branches that bent weird and broke, and so I'm hoping if I just let her sit like that, that the tomatoes and stuff will still ripen and still be able to use them.
Hello, it is Friday. I have finished with work for the most part for now. I'm gonna have to, as I do, continue working on a few projects over the weekend. But in terms of reading, I'm really close to being done with Treasure Island. And this is the really nice copy that I bought. Look how pretty that is. It's like red and gold. It's got the gilded edges. And then it also has these really gorgeous illustrations. Let me find one. They're like oil paintings. They're so gorgeous. So, loving this copy. Anyway, I will probably finish tonight. You can see on my little bookmark here, that's where I'm at. Still very much enjoying it. I'll tell you more once I finish what I end up thinking about it. I'm also halfway through Stay Out of the Basement by R.L. Stine, which is book 2 in the Goosebumps series. This was my favorite one of all of them when I was a kid, and I am loving it just as much as an adult. Something about the plants. Me liking the plant book. Who would have guessed, right? And then I'm still working on The Hollow Places and Dirty Love. No real updates on those. And yeah, so that's the reading update. Today, Brandon actually has a day off work, so we're going to run some errands together. We're going to take care of the chickens, and then I need to run to the library, and we're going to check out the local equestrian store because I do need a riding helmet and some riding gloves. The last time I had either of those, I was like 3 feet tall because I was a kid. So, just gonna see what they have at the store. I might end up ordering them both online, depending on what the prices look like. So, we're gonna do those 3 things for sure. Possibly other stuff beyond that. I don't know. We'll see. But we're gonna take you along.
So our shopping trip was a little bit of a bust. The equestrian store that we went to had just gotten home or back from a oh, what did they call it? A trade show? And so all of their inventory had been packed up for the trade show, and they were just getting it all back out on the floor. So like I had nothing that I could really film for you or show you because the store is empty, and they didn't have anything that I was looking for, and they said it's all out of stock. So that was a bust. But last week I had mentioned that my younger brother had come up and helped me move the stock tank over to the farm with the chickens. And when he came up, he brought some boxes of stuff from my childhood home. One of the items that he brought with him in a box was my first ever published book that I wrote in 3rd grade called The Adventurous Horse Girls. So I'm going to read it to you. So here's the gorgeous cover. Excuse the mess in my living room. So I wrote in glitter, The Adventurous Horse Girls. We've got some mountains. We've got some horses. And I co-wrote this with my very best friend in the whole world in 3rd grade who also adored horses. She actually had horses, and I did not. So here you see the dedication. To my best friend in the world, Jessica, from Natalie, and then the date there, December 13th, 1993. Okay, so The Two Blacks is the title of the first chapter, and we're talking about horses here, okay? And that's definitely my illustration. I drew a one-eyed horse, I guess. Okay, so here we go. One day, Jessica and Natalie were running around in a field. Natalie saw 2 horses, and then Jessica saw 2 hunters. The hunters were after the 2 horses. The girls ran over. They both grabbed the guns and jerked them out of the hunters' hands. Jessica accidentally stepped on the gun. Pow! The gun went off. It did not hit the horses, but it scared them off. Jessica and Natalie ran after the horses. The horses had vanished. Jessica and Natalie went back home and played in the fields, because that is what you would do after something like that. And I believe Natalie drew this illustration of the hunters. Why hunters would be going after horses is beyond me, but this is me and Natalie. That would be me with my long curly hair, and Natalie had like a short brown bob. Chapter 2, Black Fire. One day they were out in the field and they saw the 2 black horses and a sky of smoke. Jessica and Natalie ran to see where the smoke was coming from. It was a huge fire. They ran. Natalie took lightning and Jessica took shadow. They rode back to the house. The house was close to the fire. My. Bad luck for these 2. This was my illustration. I was clearly not as talented an artist as Natalie. Again, one-eyed horses. I don't get it. Baby Jess. What were you thinking? Okay, first show, chapter 3. See, there's a 3 on the horse there. When Natalie and Jessica got home, they put the horses in the empty stalls. The next day, the girls started training their horses. The horses became so good that they won their first show. Okay, so there we are at our first show, getting first place. I don't know how we both got first place, but we did. The Olympics. Here they were at the Olympics. All week they were going to be in shows. We've got to get ready for the show, said Jessica. They are on a team. The first day they came in 9th place. They continued to improve. The last day, Jessica and Natalie flew over those jumps. Natalie and Jessica came in first place. Lightning and shadow became true stars. Here's our illustration. And that is the end. So you've officially had a sneak peek of my first published novel, co-written by my best friend in the whole world at the time, Natalie. Natalie, girl, if you're watching this, comment down below, because this just cracked me up.
Good morning. It's Monday. Let's go ahead and wrap up this week's vlog, shall we? So this week, let's start with audiobooks. On audio, I read Shuggie, Bain, or I finished Shuggie, Bain by Douglas Stuart, which I'm reading for the BookTube Prize. I then picked up The Boys in the Bunkhouse by Dan Barry. Really loved that one, about the men with disabilities in Atalissa, Iowa, who were indentured slaves to a turkey company. I gave that book 4 stars out of 5. Then I started my Goosebumps reread. The first book I read was Welcome to the Dead House by R.L. Stine, #1 in the Goosebumps series. Loved it. Loved it. I liked this better as an adult than I did as a kid even. 5 stars out of 5 for that one. The second one was Stay Out of the Basement by R.L. Stine, #2 in the Goosebumps series. This was my favorite as a child, and I loved it again as an adult. 5 stars out of 5. And then the third book was Monster Blood by R.L. Stine, #3 in the Goosebumps series. And this one, I really liked it. I finished it yesterday, and I think it was yesterday. Forgive me if I'm wrong, but I can't remember if I've talked about this one or not. So in Monster Blood, this child goes to stay with his aunt while his parents are traveling. That seems to be a consistent theme in these books, like the parents go away and the kids are staying with someone new and all kinds of things happen. So in Monster Blood, it's really hot. My glasses are starting to fog up. In Monster Blood, these 2 kids get a can of Monster Blood at a vintage shop or like a thrift shop or something like that. And the Monster Blood is like this green goo that they think is just like gack or goop, like toys that kids have, slime, you know. And except it keeps growing and growing and growing and growing and growing. And you can see why that would be a problem. So that was a fun one. There's a twist at the end that I didn't see coming and that I didn't remember from childhood. And I didn't like it as much as the first 2, but I still really enjoyed it. So it got 4 stars out of 5. In physical books, I read and finished reading Treasure Island by Robert Louis Stevenson. I had such a good time reading this. Very pirate, very swashbuckling. It is the quintessential pirate story. I can absolutely see why it is the basis for so much of our pirate lore that we have. And I gave this one 4 stars out of 5. I also yesterday finished The Hollow Places by T. Kingfisher. This was a fun romp. I don't know that I'll read it again, but one of the interesting things that I saw happening in this was so much overlap with Stephen King's Pet Semetary, particularly with some of the creepy elements in it. Not necessarily like the characters or the setting or anything like that, but the creepy elements. That's all I can really say without spoiling it. I did enjoy this. There were some parts where there was a bit too much exposition, like a bit too much talk about physics and trying to figure out why there was this other dimension and how it worked and why it was there and how it happened to be. Like, there was just a little bit too much of that for me. That got kind of boring. You know, too much telling, not enough showing kind of thing. So I am giving this probably, I can't decide if it's a 3 or 3.5. I'm leaning towards 3.5 because there were just a couple of things that lowered it in the star rating for me. But overall, like, enjoyment wise, I did enjoy it. I was thoroughly creeped out by it. And, you know, in terms of that, I have 0 issues. There were just a couple of writing things in here that bothered me, and that probably should have been caught in editing. So yeah, probably a 3.5, but on Goodreads and stuff, you know, they don't let you use 0.5, whatever, anything. So it'll probably be a 3 because I do round down with those. I know I'm a jerk. So yeah, if you see it on my Goodreads, it's going to be a 3. I also have picked up The Shark Collar by Zila Bethel. This is the Middle Grade Monthly's August pick. It is about bluing and she lives in Papua New Guinea, and she is trying to befriend this other young girl named Maple. Maple is the daughter of a professor. They're both American, and they've traveled to Papua New Guinea because he's doing research on corals. And Maple does not want to be here. She's not adapting well, and Blue Wing is trying to befriend her, but is really, really annoyed by her. So far I'm very much enjoying it. I'm on page 98, and it's making me chuckle, and it's been pretty heartwarming, and I like the vibes. I love stories set in the Pacific Islands. Like anything, books or movies in the Pacific Islands, I'm there for it. So I'm enjoying this so far. I will finish it in the next vlog. And then on Kindle Unlimited, I've been working on for a while now. You're probably sick of hearing me talk about it. Dirty Love by Wright. I didn't make much progress on that this week, but I don't care. I'm reading it slowly, and I'm good with that. So that's what I read this week. All right, we'll wrap it up here. Thank you so much for joining me. I love having you with me on this journey. Comment down below if you have any questions that you want me to cover next week for the Q&A portion. And if you just want to let me know you're here and you made it this far, comment down below with something summer themed, some sort of emoji that represents summer for you. And until next time, make sure that you continue to read good books, drink good coffee, take care of yourselves and each other. Bye!